Seventh Son is a $100 million wannabe fantasy blockbuster from 2014, and its story is that Jeff Bridges wanted to buy another house, I guess, so he signed on to this dumb movie. As for the movie itself, the story is that Middle-earth, or this fantasy land, is full of supernatural creatures and beings, and this witcher, or this spook, hunts those creatures down to keep the land safe. But when his sorcerer's apprentice, or when his apprentice dies, he has to go buy a new apprentice to defeat the evil witch queen, who is a higher D&D level, or a higher level, than everyone else.
It's just a ghast. Level 6 creature.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Oh, okay.
It's all a bit difficult to explain for reasons we'll get to, but just think of Seventh Son as the illegitimate child of Lord of the Rings and Witcher and Dungeons and Dragons born in an illegal orgy. As you can deduce, the result wasn't of the purest kind.
Kill me.
The response to the movie was horrendous at best, and it barely made back its massive budget, which means that it ended up losing a bunch of money in theaters. I mean, things were looking so bad before release that the first studio just downright abandoned the project. As always, that doesn't mean there's nothing positive in it, because there is. The performance by Jeff Bridges is great as always, and there is one line of dialogue I thought was interesting.
I wonder what monsters have nightmares about.
Humans, probably.
And that's it. That's all the good stuff. After that, it's all negatives, from dumb CGI to wooden acting to the overall look of the film being so bloomy that every other scene feels like playing early Battlefield 3 again. But hands down, the biggest issue with this film, the issue that makes it so hard to describe, is that it might be the most nonsensical movie I've seen. It's like watching a fever dream. Events occur and stuff happens without any logic or context. It's like a nightmare. You can remember bits and pieces for a little bit, but very soon you will have forgotten everything you saw. And although some movies should be scary, no movie should be a nightmare. No movie should make so little sense that it can't be remembered clearly. And so, since that new Dungeons and Dragons movie, Among Thieves, is coming out, I thought it'd be a good time to look at this similar fantasy movie to see why it failed so badly. Here's a couple fundamental things to avoid when playing with fantasy elements, or any elements that you don't want the audience to understand so poorly that it will all fade away the next time they wake up.
Remember the difference between a ghost and a ghast?
No, I don't.
Also, in less nightmarish news, I want to take the opportunity to thank you all for how this year has begun. Not only was the response to my push video among the best on this channel ever, but my new book as well was popular enough to become #1 in film and screenwriting on Amazon over the weekend. Thank you all who got it, and hopefully it's been of use. Please leave a review on Amazon to let me know. Thanks. But instead of me just saying thanks, let's do another legendary Filmento giveaway as well, with none other than Displays, these high-quality metal sheet posters that they sent me to show in exchange for me being able to give them out. I got a whole new batch including designs like Puss in Boots and Mandalorian and the new Harry Potter game and Fight Club and even classics like The Dark Knight. I'm keeping the Fight Club one because I like it quite a bit, sorry.
I'll take the shot.
But everything else I have, I'm giving out, so just leave out whatever comment and I'll select a few. And also, Display was once again willing to sponsor another 2-week Filmento discount of 27 to 37% off everything on their site. So check it out because they have an endless amount of cool designs from movies to games to everything else, with a growing list of official partners. All the designs are printed on metal, which makes them very high quality and easy to hang up and swap out in seconds. Just dig a magnet with a protective leaf on the wall and...
Great.
So check them out with the link below, and thank you. The first issue making this movie into a forgettable nightmare is the lack of motivational context, which leaves events with no sensical anchor. So basically, when the local spook is checking out a possessed girl with his apprentice, turns out that it's actually the evil witch queen who has escaped capture.
Surprise, motherfucker!
And once the queen then kills the apprentice and flies away as a dragon, the spook travels to this random cabin in the woods to buy the family's 7th son to be his new apprentice.
I understand there's a 7th son of the 7th son that lives here. Do not say there is not, for I know that there is. I'm in a hurry.
There's already a bunch of weird stuff there that we'll get to later, but what I want you to focus on is that in this cabin scene, there's no clear motivational drive for characters. Why does the spook need a 7th son of a 7th son as his apprentice? Why does he need an apprentice at all, since he pretty much does everything on his own anyway?
I fight him alone. I prefer not to split the reward.
And why does it have to be this random farm family out of all the families in the land? We don't know, which is why the scene is basically an old man walking into a random cabin in the woods to buy himself a boy, which is pretty bizarre.
It's a little late to be prowling around these parts, huh? Why don't you have a seat right over there, please? Looks like you brought enough stuff to move in.
And it's the same on the other side. Why is the family willing to sell their son to this old man who just walks in without even introducing himself? Why is the son willing to go with him, since later on it seems like he's not even sure what he's signing up for?
How long is this apprenticeship supposed to last?
It all just kinda happens.
Bye, have a great time.
The son goes because he saw a vision of the old man coming, and it all makes total sense because the mom says that the old man is a spook, as if the existence of the fantasy element by itself just explains everything. Which of course it doesn't, since later on even the spook himself is confused as to why the son can't fight, with no clarity as to why he would have presumed this farm boy to be a fighter.
I have no knowledge of any of this. This is so bizarre.
And it all could make sense if only the motivational drives on all sides were made clear. That oh, this is why the spook needs an apprentice right now and why the apprentice has to be a 7th son. That oh, this farmer family is the only family in the region with a 7th son. That oh, the son admires spooks like most young men in the land and he's desperate to leave the farm because his family keeps a tight grip on him. It would add up way more.
I have knowledge of this.
Because without that context, nothing does add up. Once the new apprentice is sleeping in the spook's house, he hears a sound and goes to investigate this armor in a room. And then the armor comes alive and attacks him, and there's a bunch of excitement.
You were told to stay in your chamber.
With no clarity. Why is he investigating a sound alone in someone else's house, and why does the armor come alive and attack him? There is conflict, yes, but with no anchor. It's like seeing two daggers fight with nobody holding the daggers. It's just stuff happening and it's pretty weird. When the Queen Witch gets an army of assassins, one of the assassins looks at her, which she doesn't like.
Did you look at me? Never look at me.
And it's like, but why? It's not like she's disfigured and doesn't want anyone to look at her. That would make sense. No, in this one moment, the movie just decides that she doesn't want this one assassin looking at her so that it can build her up as a ruthless villain. That's it. I could go on and on because almost the whole movie is like this, but my point is that events and actions work only with motivational context to make sense of them. At the end, when another witch's daughter is helping the heroes, the queen tries to kill her for being a traitor, and then that mother witch steps in to defend her. Yes, there is still dumb CGI, but not only is this understandable, it's also pretty emotionally strong. Oh, the queen attacks the girl because she betrayed their kind over humans. And oh, the other witch attacks the queen because she's a mother fighting for her daughter over her creed. It all makes sense. There are hands holding those daggers of conflict. And whether you deal with fantasy elements or not, in every single scene this context has to be clear. If the audience can't identify the reasons for the character's behavior and for why the scenes unfold, then you need to go back to rewrite until it's clear enough that they can. The second forgettable nightmare issue here is that extraordinary elements are tossed onto the screen at face value with no build-up, which muddies the experience and makes it compete against itself. In the prologue, the Witch Queen has been in prison until there's a red moon that turns her into a dragon and allows her to escape. Already, the movie is kind of making up its own rules in the moment whenever they're needed, but whatever. Soon after, again, turns out that the sick girl in town has been possessed by that Witch Queen. And it's like, wait a minute, I thought she's a witch who turns into a dragon with the red moon. Now you're saying that she can also possess, and that she can also enchant men.
William!
And that she can also suck out life force, and that she can also turn into a dragon without the red moon, and that she can also heal people and even mold reality. There are so many arbitrarily decided supernatural sides to this queen that it just blurs the image of who she is and what she can do and what's important. She breaks under her own special weight. Oh, she can suck out life force, which she never does again after this. Oh, she can heal people, except at the end when she for some reason then can't heal herself. These competing specialties are thrown in all willy-nilly in a way that makes it unclear what to see or remember her as.
You spoil me.
And the entire movie is like this. So much is extraordinary that nothing is. The title of the movie is Seventh Son, yet I still genuinely don't understand the significance of it. What's so special about a seventh son? Why does the spook need a seventh son as an apprentice? I don't know. The movie just decides that's how it is, as if viewers are mental patients happy to eat whatever make-believe food they're fed.
Are you not the seventh son of a seventh son? You ought to be 7 times as strong as a normal man.
Which, of course, they're not. They don't just buy it as is. It has to be sold in the movie. The apprentice has vision, sure, but he's the only person in the movie who has them. I don't know if all 7 sons have them or if it's just him. There's not even any consistency to it. Sometimes he blacks out while having visions.
Hey, you. Finally awake.
While other times he doesn't. Usually the visions show the future, except for the time when they show the past, which he wasn't part of. He's the only person with visions here, yet other people don't think much of it as if it's perfectly normal. Mostly, this extraordinary element appears out of nowhere and functions in whatever way is required by the plot, which only adds to the blur of confusion. In the same vein, the whole concept of spooks isn't really explained for a long time, yet it's still used as the basis for how the plot functions. The reason the apprentice is able to free a woman from his vision who's accused of witchcraft is by saying that "I'm a spook's apprentice, by the way," and based on that, the mob just gives her to him and leaves.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Even though at this point it's not clear what exactly spooks are or how people of the world feel about them. I mean, even after getting the answer, I still don't know. Apparently, spooks hunt all kinds of supernatural creatures.
Tender creatures of the dark. The most dangerous, such as witches, we trap or kill.
Except in this movie, they don't. There's only one spook and he hunts only witches. And if only witches matter in this movie, then why are there all these other non-witch creatures? Why feature irrelevant specialty if it only lessens the special value of that which is relevant? The MacGuffins, for example, are a great showcase of that. The main plot is about the heroes having to defeat the Witch Queen before the Red Moon grows full and makes her and her kind strong enough to take over the world for some reason. But then in the second half, turns out that the apprentice's necklace he got from his mom is actually the Queen's source of great power that was stolen from her.
It belongs to my queen. How did you get it?
And it just muddies the picture of what's important. Is this movie about the Blood Moon of power, or is it about the Queen searching artifacts of power? What exactly is the definitive specialty to see and remember this movie for? Infinity War is about Thanos seeking the stones, not about him seeking the stones or alternatively just sitting back and waiting for the Infinity Moon to rise up to serve the same purpose.
You should have gone for the moon.
What the f is this piece of shit?
Watch this movie yourself for more, but my point is that extraordinary elements don't work at face value. They have to be introduced and led up to organically and serve a larger purpose in order to not feel discardable. They have to be born from the plot rather than be birthed for the plot in whatever ways to make the plot function. And most importantly, there should be no competing extraordinary elements existing in the same areas because it just lessens their value. Either more creatures than witches should matter, or there should be only witches. Either the plot should be about the Queen waiting for the Red Moon or about her seeking the Medallion of Power. If it's both, then those specialties just overwrite each other. The audience has only 2 eyes, and if there are 5 competing things they have to focus on at once, they can't focus on any of it and it all becomes a blur. The third forgettable nightmare issue here is that relationships and the scenes born from those relationships don't make any sense. Like I mentioned, when the new apprentice follows the spook to the city, he comes across this woman accused of witchcraft for a reason we haven't seen. And because he saw her in a vision earlier, he decides to save her from the mob, after which he lets her go.
Closed her eyes.
Oh, fuck.
That's already a bit strange, seeing as his whole purpose as the Spook's apprentice is to capture witches, but fair enough. Soon after, however, when the heroes are sleeping in the woods, the apprentice hears sounds and finds the woman swimming naked in the lake.
What are you doing here?
Swimming?
At which point, it's pretty obvious even to him that she is indeed a witch with more going on. It's not just a random meet. Nevertheless, he turns his back on her as she requests and then gets intimate with her, which is quite bizarre to watch play out considering all the context surrounding it. You know, that it's two people casually hanging out despite the fact that one is a witch hunter and the other is a witch, and that the witch woke him up at night swimming naked in the lake.
I got a bad feeling about this.
To be clear, he's a guy and she's a hot woman, so it's not out of the realm of possibility. But still, you think that when a witch hunter finds a witch in the woods at night, his self-preservation would at least be on par with his horniness. And the fact that it isn't makes this casual interaction and thus the entire scene feel very weird, because it's just so unnatural. And it gets even weirder down the line. When they meet for the third time, turns out that despite being a spy for the witches, the woman has also fallen in love with the apprentice, despite having known him only for a total of like 5 minutes.
Such a shame he will die. I don't want him to die. We could save him.
And even though it may be possible that a guy falls for the first woman he meets when he leaves home, a witch spy won't fall for her mark in 5 minutes. It feels forced and illogical, as do all the scenes built on this relationship. It feels like a fever dream. And once more, this relationship problem is all over the movie, in dynamics and power dynamics. The queen apparently needs an army of other spies and witches and whatever assassins to help her, even though she can turn into a dragon and suck the life out of men, and overall apparently is the most powerful being in existence. And it's like, why? Why doesn't she just go to the heroes at night like her spy and deal with them herself? Why didn't she just deal with the Spook in the beginning? Why'd she fly off? I don't know, but that's how it is. She has random lieutenant helpers so that there are characters for the heroes to fight before the finale.
These are her lieutenants. Saracen takes the form of a leopard. Verahadra is the king of swords.
Same with the queen's connection with the world. Apparently she and the Spook were in love, but then he betrayed her and locked her away for decades, and now she's mad and wants revenge. Makes sense, but then why is her and all the witches' plan to burn and take over the entire human world if no relationship has been established between them and the humans? Why are they hiding from humans when no humans have ever been shown to do them unwarranted harm, aside from maybe the Spook and even him in words only?
The Spook has no mercy. All of us burned, starved, and forced into hiding.
Like, if you showed witches get hanged in town just for being witches to establish a connection between these parties, maybe then it would make sense. But if you just show there to be a connection between these two individuals and then say that all witches need to hide from humans, no. Once again, this relationship serving as the basis for what happens just doesn't add up. And it's the same on the hero side. What does the Spook need an apprentice for if the apprentice is useless and he's so powerful that fights are a game to him? I don't know, but that's how it is. Why does the seventh son need to leave his home out into the world?
I'm gonna get out of here.
When apparently his family is already so connected with the world that they just happen to be in the city when the witches attack it later on. I don't know, but that's how it is. Overall, no matter if you deal with characters that are human or not, all relationships between them must be human and humanly logical. If the underlying charge going into every interaction and scene makes no sense, then the scene can never make sense either, regardless of how good it may be in a vacuum. A movie made up of scenes like that is not a movie. It's a bad dream that fades from the mind once the dream is over.